Etsy print on demand this, Etsy print on demand that. If you've ever thought about starting an Etsy print on demand shop and you feel overwhelmed by all the steps, or you've been hearing about it and you don't even know what it is, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to be breaking down on how to start an Etsy print on demand shop in 2026, but like from a bird's eye, like a step back, 10-foot view. This is so that you can finally understand how all these individual steps and pieces fit together before you fully dive in. And by the end of the video, you'll know the full process from step 1 to the final step of having a listing, even if you're starting as a beginner. Let's start with what print on demand actually is. So print on demand is a business model, or like a type of business or way to run your business where a product is only made on demand. Hence why it's called print on demand. So the product and the design that someone creates is only printed onto a product once someone places an order. So instead of buying inventory ahead of time and storing all the inventory and shipping all the products out, what you're focusing on is the idea, the design, and then listing it. Everything else is automated. So how this works through Etsy is the customer places an order on Etsy. That order automatically gets sent to your print provider. The print provider prints the order and ships it out to the customer with you never even having to touch the product at all. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking, why Etsy instead of Shopify? And there's definitely a lot of pros and cons between the both. I would say Etsy is a little more beginner friendly just because you don't have to build a whole website. The startup costs are a little bit lower because you're not paying a monthly fee to keep your shop up and running. And you also don't need to drive traffic. With your own website, you need to drive traffic to your website and you need to figure out a way to get people from whatever they were doing and onto your site wanting to buy. Whereas Etsy, people are going on Etsy to buy. So they already have the buying intent in mind and that traffic is all built in. Now, I would say the biggest trade-off is on Etsy. It's a marketplace, so you are not owning your store and you're also selling with a bunch of other stores. So there is competition. Now, what competition does, it tells us that there's people already buying, but what you need to do is to be able to properly position yourself for people to pick your listing over someone else's. Okay, so let's get into step 1, which is setting up all your accounts. Before you start designing or getting into all of that, I want you to create 3 accounts. The first thing I want you to create is a business email. Now, this can just be a Gmail or an Outlook, Hotmail, but I just want you to create an email so that all of your stuff can be separated and we can create the rest of your accounts using this email. This is going to keep all your transactions separate and all your orders and everything separate. So create this email. It can be whatever name, or it can be the name that you might want for your shop, but get that done first. The next thing you're going to create is your Etsy seller account. So you're going to go on Etsy, create your seller account. And this is pretty straightforward, just following the steps, but you do want to make sure you're putting in accurate information because if things kind of mismatch, this can actually get your account shut down. When you're creating your account, there's going to be a one-time startup cost. It kind of varies what it costs. When I made my very first Etsy seller account, it didn't cost anything. And the second time I made an account, which was last year, which is the account I'm running now, it was like maybe $15 USD. So it kind of just depends, but you're gonna have to pay one startup fee. I've only ever heard it go up to $20, maybe it goes a little bit more, but you're gonna pay that one setup fee. And also in the process, it's gonna ask you to create a listing. Just create a random listing and just put it in your drafts. But random listing, random photo, put in your drafts. But that's how you're gonna set up your Etsy account, and that's the next step. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna set up an account with a print provider. So some of the print providers out there, the more popular ones are Printify, Printful, and Gelato. Those are some of the bigger ones. And you can do your research and decide which one you want to do. But the one that I usually find most cost effective is Printify. So just create an account. It's free to create a Printify account. So you can create an account and you can get that all hooked up as well with your Etsy account. And now we're going to go into step 2, which is just your basic branding. Now, branding is where a lot of people get stuck, unfortunately, because you don't want to get stuck here. This is like not that super important and it can be changed in the future. But all I want you to have is your brand name, of course, and I want you to create a logo as well as a banner. Now, your name doesn't matter too much on Etsy because people are kind of looking at your individual listings, but do try to create something that maybe is related to what you want to sell or just a fun name. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. And I would suggest if you're a beginner at designing, definitely start out with a template. Overall, the main goal of your branding is cohesiveness. You want everything to match together. Your logo, your banner, and everything else you end up creating later on. And the best way to do this is by using templates. Now that our branding is done, we get into step 3, which is all of our research. Now, I break my research into 4 different sections, especially if you're just starting and you have no reference of what you're doing. And I break this down into your niche research, your product research, your design research, and then your keyword research. And yes, this is a lot of research, but like I said, one of the cons of Etsy is that it's a marketplace, so you're competing with other people, and research is what really helps you stand out and actually get sales. So with niche research, you're just trying to figure out what you want to sell and like who you want to sell to. Do you want to sell to teachers? Do you want to sell to nurses? Do you want to sell to moms? Do you want to sell to business owners? Do you want to sell to gamers? Just pick a general broad niche that you think you might want to sell to, and we'll kind of go through the rest of the research to see if it works out. The next type of research you want to do is product research. So within that kind of broad niche that you selected, figure out what products people are buying. Are they buying, apparel? Are they buying mugs? Are they buying things that are like more giftables? Are they buying decor for their house? Scroll through Etsy and figure out what people are selling, which means what people are buying in that niche. Okay, so you figured out what niche you want to sell in, you figured out what product type you want to sell. I would say to start with one, just because you don't want to create your listing images over and over again for a bunch of different products. You kind of want to get, grounded in one of them first. So pick your niche, pick your product. And the next thing you're going to do is design research. So you are going to literally look all over Etsy. Open up an incognito tab, duplicate it a bunch of times, and look in any random niche you can think of. Wedding, dogs, moms, birthdays, any random niche. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at what designs are selling and kind of make a note of it. So if you're seeing designs where the letters of each word in a shirt are alternating, write that down. Alternating colors in word. If you're noticing certain animals that are doing really well or certain graphic styles, write that down. And just make a list of all these different elements that are working, because we're going to come back to that when we get to designing. And the reason we're looking in multiple different niches is because we don't really want to just keep creating what's already in our niche. We want to be able to look outside of our niche and see if there's any design styles that are really working and doing good in other niches that we can kind of switch around and adapt to our niche. And after you're done your design research, the last thing you want to do is keyword research. So now you're going to specifically look at keywords that are high search, so a lot of people want it, and maybe there aren't as many designs around it, or maybe there's not as many designs of your style around it. And I made a video about how to stand out in a competitive niche, and I'll link that up here. But overall, you really just want to make sure you're standing out in one way or another. Maybe you're standing out because no one's designing in that niche at all. Maybe it's a keyword that's very specific, like Chihuahua dog moms, and that's very specific and a lot of people are searching for it, but not a lot of people are creating listings for it, and that's the niche you want to go in. Then that's good to go in, and that's the way you're standing out, is by picking a specific keyword. Maybe there is a niche that is getting high search but also has high competition. Maybe there's a design style that you're not seeing there yet that you know is working really well in other niches and you want to bring it to that niche. So just things like that. Think about how you can stand out. Maybe it's a different product type that you're bringing to that niche, but just ways that you can stand out with the keyword that you've decided. So we've got our niche, we got our product type, we got our design style, and we got our keyword that we're going to be focusing on. And now we're going to go into step 4, which is design. Now, keeping the keyword that you're designing for in mind, you're going to kind of, make some designs that are incorporating different elements that you had taken from your design research. Maybe you see that the vintage style is doing really well and you can figure out a way to bring it into your soccer mom niche. Or maybe you see that a really yellow shirt with pink text is doing well and you're going to figure out a way to bring that into the bachelorette niche. Whatever it is, think about different design elements that you've gathered before and figuring out how you can connect that with your keyword and make designs for it. Now, you don't just want to make one design. It's not going to work, especially as a beginner. Even now, you don't know what's going to work and you don't know what's going to sell. So for that specific keyword that we're designing for, you kind of want to make a lot of designs. I would suggest you make at least 15 designs. It's going to be hard, especially if you're not used to designing, but at least 15 designs. Sometimes I'll even go up to 25 designs for one keyword, because I want to make sure that I know I'm testing out this keyword. I've tried all these designs and I know, okay, if this doesn't work out, is it a keyword problem or is it a design problem? And I get a better idea of that. So if I know that none of these listings are doing well and they're not getting views at all, then I know, okay, maybe this keyword isn't the way to go right now. But if one of those designs is really popping off and really doing well, I know, okay, the keyword is good. Now I just got to put out more designs to figure out which designs people are actually liking. And now we're going to move on to step 5, which is your mockup and listing photos. Now, this is key because everything on Etsy is visual. Your mockup image is literally your first impression to a potential customer. Like, you need to make this matter. Now, 2 things I want you to make sure of when you have your mockup image is that it is very clear to see and understand. So you don't want the text on the shirt or the mug to be too small that they can't see it. And also that the environment of the mockup image kind of matches the style or the audience that you're targeting. For example, the niche I started out with was the baby shower niche, and the specific keyword I was targeting was boy baby shower signs. So when I made my mock-up, I didn't want my poster or my sign just on a white wall. I specifically put it with a background that looked like it was at a baby boy shower. So there's blue balloons and blue decorations and things like that. So people really saw almost what they were getting and they can envision it in their own baby shower. The other photos you're going to need are your listing photos. Now, this is going to help people buy your product as well as build trust with the potential customer. So some of the listing photos you would need to have is something like a size chart or a color chart. Of course, these really depend on your product. For example, if you're selling mugs, maybe there's 2 different sizes of mugs you're selling, or if you're selling apparel, of course, there's different sizes that you want people to see what size and what measurement for everything. And of course, if you're selling apparel, you want people to be able to see the different sizes that line up with different measurements for the clothing. A color chart can be useful if you're selling different colors or something, or even different variations. Another one of my listing photos that I use is to build trust, and it's a guarantee photo. Here, I just let them know that they have blank amount of days to request a refund or a reprint of their product, which if there's anything messed up, most print providers will cover that and do that for you. But I just let them know so they can see it right there instead of having to scroll anywhere, especially as a new shop and you don't have many reviews or any reviews at all or any sales at all. People are, very hesitant to trust you. So I feel like having that photo there so that they can kind of read it and they're knowing, okay, if anything goes wrong, they can get a refund or they can get a reprint and get it sorted. They'll feel a lot more comfortable buying from you. One thing you want to make sure about these listing photos is that they all kind of, again, match that cohesive branding. So you kind of maybe take your banner photo and your logo that you made and kind of build off of that when it comes to making your listing photos, because you kind of want them to all look cohesive and like they're part of one, because that does also help build trust. Now, the 6th step is going to be listing. Now, if you haven't already connected your Etsy account to your print provider, go ahead and do that right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to upload our design to our print provider. When you upload it to your print provider, it'll let you know about the positioning and the sizing of the design, and you can kind of use the live mockup to figure out where you want your design placed on the product. And once that's all done, you can get it sent over as a draft to your Etsy shop. Now, if you see that pop up in your Etsy shop, you know that everything is synced, so that when someone places an order, it'll automatically show up in your Printify account and get printed and shipped to that customer. But your next step is figuring out all the backend stuff on Etsy. So this is where you're going to be adjusting your title and your tags, as well as adding those mockups and listing images we created in the last step. So you want to add your mockup photo, you want to make sure it's sized correctly so that everyone can see it properly on the main page, and then you want to add all those listing photos. And the next thing you want to do is focus on your title. Now, throughout this process, you've probably seen some keywords that have been repeating or doing well. Of course, you have your main keyword that you've searched, but maybe other related keywords or ways to describe your product. And we're going to use that to make a title. Now, I would never say to copy someone else's title, because at the end of the day, you don't know where they're getting their traffic. You can see, oh, this person is first on search page, but maybe it's because they're paying ads, maybe because they're really established on social media outside of there and they're sending people to their store. So you don't know why that person's product title worked. So what I like to do is just kind of write down common denominators that I'm seeing from these different names of products and keyword types that are similar to mine, so that I can kind of put it together and pick what I want to use. And just the basics for tags, I kind of copy my title and put it in my tag section and kind of split it up from there and add or take away as necessary. But title and tags and all of SEO is a whole topic on its own, so I can definitely make a video about that, about what I do for my title and tags. Just let me know. But you want to make sure everything is filled out on your page, so the title, the tags, all the other description items. The shipping will automatically be copied over from your print provider, especially if you're using Printify. And you want to make sure you change your mockup image and your listing images, because that's what people are going to see. You're actually able to press a little eye icon and it'll show the customers what it's going to look like on the customer's end. On this listing page, you also want to be able to adjust your price. Now that you've done a lot of looking at different product types and different niches, I want you to go back and take a look at pricing. See what people are pricing their items for and kind of pick something in the middle. You don't want to pick just the lowest price, because then you can undervalue what you're selling. People might think it's not worth as much, but you also don't want to be the most expensive. So you kind of want to be somewhere in the middle. So take a look at the product type you're selling, what people are selling your niche, but also the most important thing to take a look at is what is going to cost you to make that item. So if it's going to cost you $15 to make and ship that item, your product cannot be priced less than $15. So if you're seeing something on the market that says $15, then you don't want to copy that pricing, because that is not going to work for you. You are not going to be profitable. You also need to make sure that you're using some type of Etsy pricing calculator. Everbee has a free one you can use. Printify has one, I'm pretty sure, as well. And using that calculator, it'll also help you calculate using Etsy's fees, because Etsy is bringing their own traffic to the site. They do charge a little bit more fees, so that when you get a sale, those fees are just automatically taken out. And you really want to make sure that is accounted in your pricing. So using these pricing calculators, I can help you figure out a good price so you can know your profit, you can know what fees are taken out, and you can know what the production cost is taken out. So all of it is accounted for you, so you know at the end of the day what you're getting paid for the sale. So that is the full roadmap for starting a Etsy print on demand shop in 2026. This is just like the step back overview of everything, so you can understand the process and how everything works. If you'd like a more in-depth video of any of these steps or any of the topics I talked about, please just let me know. I do plan to make more videos, but maybe you can let me know what you want to see first. And if you're stuck at step 2 and you're wanting to work on your branding, here's another video that can help you with that, where I did my Etsy shop branding all over again. You can check out the video right here. Bye, people.